The courthouse was supposed to be safe. But that morning, a 15-year-old girl dropped to her knees on cold marble floors, begging a judge not to send her back to her father. No one listened. Until leather boots echoed through the hall, and the roar of engines shook the ground. But before we begin, tell us, where in the world are you watching this from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Your every comment, gift and membership helps us bring more heart-touching stories to your life. The city courthouse stood like a fortress of stone and glass. Inside, the air felt stale, heavy with murmurs of lawyers in pressed suits. At the very back, Hannah McLean gripped the sleeves of her thrift store sweater, her eyes red from sleepless nights. She was only 15, but her frame carried years of fear. The bailiff had called her name moments ago. She was expected to testify against her father, Officer Raymond McLean, a decorated police sergeant who wore medals the way other men wore masks. On paper, he was a hero. In Hannah's memory, he was a monster. Her foster mother had promised to meet her, but the seat beside her remained empty. Hannah's lips trembled as she whispered into her phone, "Please, someone help me. Don't let them send me back." Each word cracked like glass. And yet people walked past her as though she were invisible, clutching briefcases and avoiding her bruised eyes. Raymond McLean adjusted his uniform collar in the hallway mirror. His hair was slick, his badge polished to a glare. To the public, he was the kind of cop who shook hands with mayors, who carried flags during parades. But behind closed doors, his fist spoke louder than his oaths. Hannah bore the evidence across her arms, faint scars hidden beneath sleeves, the ghost of a fracture never properly set. Yet here he was, entering the courtroom as if he owned it, confident the judge would side with him. Raymond had friends in every corner of the system. He knew how to twist reports, how to bury complaints. His smile to the judge was rehearsed, controlled. Hannah felt her stomach lurch when their eyes met. He nodded at her, the smallest gesture, but in it was a promise: no one believes you. "You're mine." A shiver raced through her spine. She wanted to scream, but the silence of authority suffocated her. The clock ticked past 10. Hannah's foster mother should have arrived by now. Instead, her phone buzzed with a single text: "Pulled over." 3 squad cars. "I can't get through." Panic knifed through Hannah's chest. She wasn't imagining it. Her father's friends in uniform were ensuring she would stand alone. She looked up at the ceiling, at the sterile white lights, and for the first time in weeks she wanted to run. But her legs refused to move. Tears blurred her vision as she whispered, "Please, anyone." Her voice cracked into a sob that echoed down the hallway. A man at the payment counter, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a leather vest, paused mid-sentence. He was only there to pay a speeding ticket, but the sound of her desperation pulled him like gravity. He turned, his presence filling the hall. The patch on his vest read, "Iron Saints MC." His name was Ryder Cole, and he knew the sound of a child begging for help. Ryder approached slowly, careful not to frighten her further. His boots clicked against the marble, drawing glances from suited professionals who quickly looked away. He crouched down to Hannah's eye level. His voice was low, almost fatherly. "Who's trying to take you back, sweetheart?" Hannah's tears caught on her lashes. For a moment she hesitated, her eyes darting between his tattoos and the patches on his vest. Then hope, raw and trembling, broke through. "My dad, he's a cop." "No one believes me." Ryder's jaw tightened. He had seen too many men hide behind badges. He pulled out his phone without another word. His thumbs flew across the screen, sending one message that would echo across the city. "Need brothers. Courthouse. Girl in danger." He hit send. Within moments, replies lit up. The air outside was still calm, but Ryder knew it wouldn't be for long. He looked at Hannah and said, "You're not alone anymore." The courthouse doors rattled 20 minutes later. First came the thunder, the kind only Harley engines could summon. Heads turned toward the windows as black and chrome streaked down the street in formation. The Iron Saints arrived first, their patches glinting in the sunlight. Behind them, the veteran riders rolled up, flags snapping in the wind. Even the crossroads nomads, old rivals, pulled in side by side. Lawyers froze mid-conversation. Judges peered through blinds. The ground vibrated as nearly 50 motorcycles parked shoulder to shoulder. Their riders dismounted, leather boots pounding pavement in unison. Together they moved like a tide of steel and loyalty, heading straight for the courthouse steps. Passers-by whispered, some frightened, others in awe. Hannah stood at the entrance, wide-eyed, as Ryder placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "See them?" he murmured. "They're all your family now." The marble stairs trembled under the weight of bikers climbing, their presence a wall between Hannah and the man who hurt her. Inside the courtroom, Judge Harrison raised his brow when the doors opened. The bailiff stiffened as row after row of bikers filed in. "Only family allowed," he barked. Ryder stepped forward, eyes locked on the man. "We are her family." All of us. The room went still. A ripple of leather jackets filled every bench. Hannah's father turned, and for the first time his smirk faltered. Raymond McLean, who built his life on fear, was now surrounded by men and women who did not bow to his badge. The bailiff cleared his throat, uncertain. But when an older biker, Logan Snake Harris, Vietnam vet patch displayed proudly, leaned on his cane and said, "Big family." Problem with that? The tension cracked. The judge's gavel hit wood. "Order in this courtroom." Yet beneath his command, unease colored his face. Hannah felt her spine straighten. For once she wasn't standing alone. For once the truth might actually be heard. Raymond's lawyer, a slick man in a tailored suit, wasted no time. He rose smoothly, voice dripping with confidence. "Your Honor, my client's daughter has been misled by unsavory influences. We request immediate custody reinstatement." Hannah froze. Her assigned attorney, the one meant to defend her, hadn't shown. She sat at the table alone, clutching trembling hands. The lawyer smirked as though victory was already his. That's when Ryder's voice rang out from the benches. 17 complaints of excessive force against McLean, all swept under the rug. The judge slammed his gavel. "One more word and I'll clear the courtroom." But another biker rose. 19 domestic calls to his home. Same address, same reports. Always dismissed. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Raymond's face reddened as he hissed at his lawyer. Hannah's chest pounded. For the first time, the cracks in her father's armor showed. And then the doors swung open again. A woman in a sharp navy suit strode in, briefcase in hand. She introduced herself firmly. Claire Donnelly, new counsel for Hannah McLean. Her presence cut through the room like a blade. She dropped a thick folder onto the table, papers spilling across the wood. "These," she said, "are the files mysteriously misplaced by the previous attorney." The judge blinked, startled. Claire opened the folder, revealing hospital records, 3 years of injuries. Broken wrist, bruised ribs, concussion. Each date lined up with Hannah's memories like a grim calendar of pain. Raymond shifted uncomfortably, his jaw tightening as whispers filled the courtroom. Claire's voice stayed calm, measured. "We also have recordings of threats made directly to Hannah, promising consequences if she testified." The lawyer objected furiously, but Claire raised a brow. "Minors may record threats to their safety under state law. Shall we play them now?" Gasps swept the room. Hannah's heart pounded. For the first time, the walls around her abuser began to crack. And she felt something she hadn't in years, the stir of hope. Raymond shot to his feet, his voice booming. "This is a circus. She's being coached by criminals." His finger jabbed toward the rows of bikers. "These thugs are manipulating her." Hannah's breath caught. And then something inside her snapped. She pushed her chair back, rising on shaky legs. "Coached." Her voice trembled at first, then gathered strength. "No one coached me when you broke my arm for a B+. No one coached me when you held my head underwater until I thought I'd die." The courtroom froze. Tears streamed down her cheeks, but her voice was steady now. You killed my cat because I was late. You made me kneel on rice until I bled. You told me Mom disappeared because of me. Do you want me to keep going? Silence fell heavy as stone. Raymond's mask cracked, fury contorting his face. The judge's pen slipped from his fingers. And Hannah stood straighter than she ever had, her truth finally unchained. Liar! Raymond roared, lunging across the table. But he didn't make it far. Snake's cane hooked his leg, sending him sprawling onto the polished floor. Instantly 5 bikers rose, standing like sentinels above him. They didn't touch him. They only looked down with eyes that carried lifetimes of storms. Raymond shouted for their arrest, spittle flying. "Assault on a police officer!" Ryder shrugged casually from the bench. "Looked like he tripped to me." A low rumble of agreement rolled from dozens of leather-clad throats. "Yeah, tripped." The judge's gavel hammered, but even his voice was shaky now. Claire cleared her throat, sliding a flash drive across the table. Recovered body cam footage. Supposedly deleted. The judge blinked. "Play it," he ordered. Hannah's pulse thundered in her ears. For once the truth wasn't buried. For once the man who terrified her couldn't hide behind his badge. And everyone in that courtroom would see the monster behind the uniform. The footage flickered to life on the courtroom screen. Grainy but clear enough. Raymond's voice filled the room, laughing, boasting about disciplining his daughter. Another clip showed him threatening officers who responded to domestic calls. "She lies. Nobody believes a kid over me," he sneered on tape. Hannah's shoulders shook as she listened, but Claire's hand rested gently on her arm. "You're not alone," she whispered. The judge leaned forward, his face pale. The courtroom, once filled with murmurs, had fallen silent, but for Hannah's quiet sobs. Raymond's lawyer whispered frantically, but the sergeant's composure was gone. He looked small now, crumpled in his uniform, his medals tarnished by truth. Hannah raised her chin. For the first time she saw her father as he truly was. Not a god, not a protector, just a coward in a badge. The judge's gavel came down, firm and final. "This court will not return Hannah McLean to her father's custody," Raymond erupted, his face purple with rage. "This is a setup. All of you will pay." His threats poured out like venom, but Casey typed rapidly, recording every word. The doors burst open again, and in marched the police chief, flanked by internal affairs. They'd been quietly investigating Raymond for months, and Hannah's testimony gave them everything they needed. Handcuffs clicked around his wrists. He jerked against them, but the officers held firm. He turned one last time toward Hannah, eyes burning with hatred. His lips formed the words, "You're dead." Before fear could creep back in, Ryder's voice boomed across the courtroom. "No, she's protected now." 50 bikers rose in unison, their presence undeniable, their vow unspoken but clear. Raymond struggled as they dragged him away, but the sight of leather-clad guardians surrounding Hannah silenced even his fury. For the first time in years, Hannah felt the chains of fear loosen. She was safe. When the courtroom emptied, Hannah remained seated, trembling. She stared at Ryder, confusion shadowing her eyes. Why would you all come for me?" "You don't even know me." Ryder crouched low, meeting her gaze. His voice softened, stripped of the edge it carried moments ago. "Because that's what we do. We protect people who can't protect themselves. That's the real code." Hannah's throat tightened, tears spilling freely now. She had been told bikers were criminals, dangerous men. Yet here they were, the only ones who had stood when no one else would. Snake leaned on his cane, giving her a wink. "We're dangerous, all right, but only to people who hurt kids." Laughter, low and gentle, rippled through the benches. Hannah covered her face with her hands, overwhelmed. For the first time, her tears weren't born from fear. They were born from relief. The story spread like wildfire. By evening, hashtags blazed across social media. Bikers for Hannah. News outlets replayed clips of bikers filling the courtroom, of Raymond being led away in cuffs. Donations poured into a fund for Hannah's future, strangers writing messages of love and solidarity. Across the country, families shared their own stories of courts failing children, of voices silenced by power. Hannah scrolled through them in disbelief. For years she had been invisible. Now the world finally saw her. At her foster home that night, she curled up under a blanket, her phone buzzing with notifications. One message stood out from Claire the lawyer. "You were the bravest person in that room today. Never forget it." Hannah clutched the phone to her chest, closing her eyes. For the first time, her dreams weren't haunted by fear. They were lit by possibility. Weeks later, Hannah visited the Iron Saints clubhouse. The smell of oil and leather filled the air. Rows of motorcycles gleamed like loyal sentinels. The bikers welcomed her with nods and smiles, offering her a seat by the fire pit. Ryder handed her a leather jacket, smaller, fitted for her frame. On the back, a custom patch, "Protected by Angels." Hannah's fingers trembled as she traced the stitching. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. Snake grinned, smoke curling from his cigar. "Don't say anything. Just ride with us sometime." Laughter erupted around her, warm and safe. For the first time in her life, Hannah felt what family truly meant. She wasn't a burden. She wasn't invisible. She was someone worth fighting for. 2 years later, the courthouse steps looked different. Hannah stood taller now, confidence radiating from her. A sleek motorcycle purred beneath her, a gift she'd saved for, worked for, earned. She wore that same leather jacket, the "Protected by Angels" patch proudly displayed. Reporters snapped photos as she swung her leg over, helmet tucked under her arm. Inside, another custody battle raged, another child alone. Hannah wasn't there as a victim anymore. She was there as support, part of a growing movement called Bikers Against Abuse. Founded in her name, the group now spanned multiple states. She had become more than a survivor. She had become a protector. The roar of engines behind her signaled her brothers and sisters arriving. Hannah smiled softly. The girl who once begged in silence now rode in strength. Meanwhile, Raymond McLean sat in a prison cell. His uniform meant nothing here. Stripped of power, he was just another inmate. His threats carried no weight. He replayed the courtroom scene in his mind, but no one listened. Guards turned away. Inmates mocked the fallen cop. His empire of fear had crumbled. Hannah, far away, no longer thought of him with terror. She thought of him as proof that even the strongest masks can shatter. His prison sentence stretched long, 25 years with investigations piling. His name became a warning instead of a weapon. Hannah didn't need revenge. She already had something better, freedom, and the knowledge that his reign of fear had ended not with silence, but with her voice rising above it. Hannah pursued studies in social work. She wanted to be the voice for kids who felt unheard, the hand for those too scared to reach. Her non-profit grew, supported by biker clubs who once competed but now rode side by side. Together they escorted children to court, stood watch at schools, shielded the vulnerable from threats. Hannah often rode at the front, her jacket patch catching sunlight. Children she helped would look at her in awe, whispering she was saved by bikers, and she always corrected them gently. "I was saved because strangers chose to care." It became her mantra. Strength wasn't about fists or uniforms. Strength was about compassion, fierce and unyielding. On quiet evenings, Hannah would ride out to the old courthouse steps where her life changed. She'd sit there, helmet beside her, watching the city lights flicker. She thought of the girl she used to be, scared, silenced, invisible. And she thought of the roar that had risen for her, the army of leather that taught her family isn't always blood. She smiled softly, whispering to the wind, "I'm free." Her phone buzzed. "A message from Ryder. Ride tomorrow." She typed back with a grin, always. The girl who once begged not to be returned to her abuser was now unstoppable, her future wide as the open road. The sun dipped low as Hannah rode across the bridge, engines roaring beside her. Each headlight was a promise, each patch a story. She wasn't just Hannah McLean, survivor of an abusive cop. She was Hannah McLean, protector, sister, rider. Her story no longer began with pain, it began with courage. The courthouse that once held her fear now stood as a monument to her victory. And as the wind tangled through her hair, she knew one truth above all. Sometimes the scariest-looking people are the safest ones to run to. Sometimes angels wear leather. If this story touched your heart, make sure to like, subscribe, and press the bell icon. Every click helps us bring more stories of strength, hope, and unexpected heroes. Share this video with someone who needs to believe in courage again.
I just want to take a moment to say a huge thank you to each and every one of you. Folded hands, your love, support, likes, comments, and subscriptions mean the world to me. Without you, this journey wouldn't be possible. Every view, every share, and every encouraging word keeps me motivated to create more content for you all. I'm truly grateful to have such an amazing community by my side. Let's keep growing together and making this journey even more special. Red Heart.